Welcome to day 26 of the query folding challenge. For today's challenge, we have to select the employee key, first name, middle name, and last name, where the last name does not start with the letters A, B, C, D, or E. We are using the Adventure Works database and the employee table. So let's head over to Power BI. So we are now in Power Query. So the first step, as usual, is to connect to the data source, right? So connect to recent data sources. Then we select the employee table, click on OK, click on OK to import the data. So the first step we should select, for the first step, we can select the names of all the columns that we want to use. I can go back to, where is it? This step right here, and copy this and paste that right here. Now I have all the columns that we want to use for this particular challenge. So the step says that we should check the first name and make sure that they are either the letters A, B, C, D, or E. So what we're going to do is to get a list of all names, all last names. So we say last name, and this gives us a list of all the last names. We want to make sure that the last names are distinct, no duplicates. So we can rename this step to last name list. And now we need a way to check the first character of each name. We've done something like this in the past. What we did was to check like the second character in the text. I think this should be for challenge day 24. If today is 26, then it should be 24. We did something similar, so we're going to be repeating the same process. Just with a different, what we'll be doing here, we'll be using a different function. So we use list, select. We want to select the from the last name list. We need to pass a condition now, where each we need to make sure that text contains, we want to pass the list we want to compare, right? So I've already copied that from here. These are the values. So I've copied that into a text, into a notepad here. Come back to Power Query and just pass that list A, B, C, D, or E. Then what we want to compare, we want to look at each item in the name, last name list. So, and for each item, we want to extract the first character. So we use underscore to reference the current item. Then we use the index 0 to refer to the first character. Now we can just close the bracket and this should work fine. Now you notice that for each name we have here, starts with A, B, C, D, E. Other names have been removed. If you check the name list, you will realize that we had F, G, H, I, J. You get that? All those names have been removed. So I'm going to say final last name list. Now we have the final list. We need to use this list now to filter the table. So what we can do is to add a new step. For this new step, we want to use the table.select rows. Table.select rows. The table we want to, let me see. So the table we want to reference is the DBO employee. DBO employee. Then the next step will be to select the row. So we want to check where list contains. So we can now use the list from the previous step, which is the final last name list. final last name lists. Then we need to provide the value. The value now will be the value of the column, which would be last name. And this is pretty straightforward. It should work fine. And now we've been able to select the columns and we've been able to apply our filters. We see that all the names are A, B, C, D selected rows. This is why list functions and text functions are very important, because if you don't know functions like that, it will be hard for you to perform some kind of advanced calculation. And one more thing, we need to confirm that query folding is working fine. We see that query folding is working fine, and we have one inner query here. We can actually remove the inner query based on the tip from previous steps. So we from previous challenges, we can just remove these columns that we selected earlier, and everything is still going to work fine as expected, right? Just that now we have all the columns. So instead of choosing the columns from the start, we can now choose the columns that we want to select. Employee key, first name, last name, and middle name. Click on OK. Now you see that there's no inner query here. Again, we've been able to remove the need for the inner query. So that's fine. Then one more thing we can do is to reorder this column such that the last name comes last. So we can, instead of applying a new step, we can just copy and reorder this. Now we can have employee key, first name, middle name, and last name. Yeah. So with this, we've been able to solve the challenge. Let's just confirm that this is working fine. It's working fine. So we've been able to solve the challenge for today, and this brings us to the end of the challenge for the 26. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you have questions or you run into issues, you can just drop a comment and I'll try to look at it. And see you tomorrow. We have 3 more days. Is it 3 more days? 4 more days to go, right? So see you and thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate. See you tomorrow.